Hi, everybody. It's Miss Little. First things first, I hope everybody is safe. I know we've had a very hectic week with power being out, a hurricane, no school, e-learning. It's a lot, I know. So here I am showing you a small introduction to what we are going to be learning in class in the next couple weeks. We are going to be doing a lot of work on poetry, poems, and poets. So I'm going to introduce to you some poetic techniques to make it easier. This might be some stuff you already know, some of the stuff may be brand new. It's a lot of information though, so I'm going to try to simplify it as best as I can, but at least this way you get somewhat of a base before we go deep dive into everything. So our learning objective is we are going to learn about the techniques that poets use to convey mood and communicate meaning so we can write our own poems. I'm going to read three examples of poems. These are funnier poems. They're written by Shel Silverstein. He is the author of The Giving Tree, and he writes really funny poems that sometimes rhyme, sometimes don't. They are all over the place, but they show just the wide array that poems can be. And he uses illustrations a lot of times to bring out the humor in them. This one is called Batty. The baby bat screamed out in fright. Turn on the dark. I'm afraid of the light. So this is funny because humans are usually afraid of the dark and want the lights on, but since it's a bat, it's the opposite. It's the other way around. Overdues. What do I do? What do I do? This library book is 42 years overdue. I admit that it's mine, but I can't pay the fine. Should I turn it in or hide it again? What do I do? What do I do? Here he uses repetition with what do I do? He also rhymes do with 42, overdue, and then again with what do I do repeated. Mine and fine rhyme, and so does in and again. Our last one is snowball. I made myself a snowball, as perfect as could be. I thought I'd keep it as a pet and let it sleep with me. I made it some pajamas and a pillow for its head. Then last night it ran away, but first it wet the bed. Here he gives personification, details, and attributes to a snowball because we know a snowball can't run away. And we also know a snowball did not wet the bed, it melted. Here we have head rhymes with bed, me and be rhyme. And here is the table of contents of what we're going to be going through. I'm going to introduce the four parts to you. We'll be talking about the four parts, and then it'll be your turn. So our four parts are the sound of words, the meaning of words, the arrangement of words, and the imagery of words. Our introduction. Poets are limited in the materials they can use in creating their work. All they have are words to express their ideas and emotions. These words need to be right on several levels at once. Part one is going to be they must sound right to the listener as they are read out loud. Part two, they must have a meaning, which is clear and thought-provoking. Part three, they must be arranged in a way that is easy to follow, but also assists the reader's understanding. In part four, they must encourage deep thoughts or emotions while appearing simple and self-contained. Sound, meaning, arranged, deep thoughts or emotions, and simple. Here's part one of our deep dive. This is on the sounds of words. Certain words can be selected and grouped together to achieve specific effects when we hear them. The sounds that are created might sound pleasing or soothing, clever or rhythmic, or harsh and uncomfortable to hear. The following poetic devices can affect the way a poem sounds when read out loud. It's important to remember that these deliberate arrangements of words can convey a particular sense of mood, atmosphere, or emotions. Now, that's a lot of information. Let's break it down. Alliteration. This is repeated consonant sounds at the beginning of words placed near each other or next to each other. Now, you know the alphabet is composed of consonants and vowels. So if a letter is not a vowel, it is a consonant. For example, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. We have that P sound repeated. Slim pinions, swallows, sweep and pass. We have the S and the P sound. S and P sounds. Those are both consonants. The barbarians broke through the barricade. We have that B sound repeated. Another example is Sally sells seashells by the seashore. You can try to say that 3 times fast. And then my personal favorite, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? We have that w sound and ch sound repeated. Those are all consonant sounds at the beginning of the words, which makes it really difficult to say really fast. The opposite of alliteration is assonance. This is repeated vowel sounds in words placed near each other, usually on the same or adjacent lines. Now, adjacent lines means right next to each other. If you're in a parking lot, your car is parked adjacent to another car. So in this sense, the words are adjacent right next to other words. See if you can identify the vowel sounds repeated in these examples. I feel stressed and restless. We have the sound. The dapper lad chatted to the other happy chap. We have dapper, lad, chatted, happy, chap, We have that short A sound. Johnny went here and there and everywhere. We have that short E, eh. Go slow over the road to nowhere. Say it with me. Go slow over the road to nowhere. We have that short O sound. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the long O sound. Oh. Go slow over the road to nowhere. The short O would be ah. That's the long O. So we have short E, short A, short E, and long O sound. This is one of my personal favorites, automatopoeia. These are words that imitate the natural sound of things that they described. Basically, this is just writing down sounds. The clang of the pots and pans woke up the baby. We know the sound of a clang, but we wrote it down because you can imagine the noise and commotion that pots and pans would make. The wolves howled at the moon, where we can't put in the sound of howling, but we can write howled. Zoom went the race car as it sped past the finish line. Zoom puts in the sound of the race car speeding past. The bacon sizzled in the pan. You can hear the bacon sizzling in the grease. And here I put an illustration of all this commotion. This is usually found in cartoons or comic books. Bam, boom, whoosh, zap, bam, boom, crash, zap. We know that it is not quiet, whatever's going on in here. This is a lot of noise. Repetition, the purposeful reuse of words and phrases to create emphasis or convey a particular effect. Let's say you're in a waiting room and it is taking so long. Time is just going on and on and on. You wouldn't say, I've been sitting here forever, time is going on. You would say on 3 times to convey and show that it's taking forever. Here's 2 examples. I will not brush my hair. I will not wear a dress. I will not clean my room. What's repeated here? It's I will not. This shows that this person will not do these things and they mean it. We have so much stuff, but still buy more stuff. Then need storage units to store all the stuff. The repeated stuff 3 times lets us know that they have a lot of stuff. Rhythm. Rhythm is when words are arranged according to stressed and unstressed syllables so that they make a pattern or beat. Verses might contain a certain number of syllables to create this pattern. Rhythm helps to distinguish poetry from prose. Now, prose is one of our old vocabulary words. Prose means just ordinary writing. So rhythm is what separates poetry from ordinary writing. Some common rhythms include I am, Trochki, and Spondy. These are different rhythms in pentameters. You can usually hear rhythm if you hum the words instead of saying them. So imagine hearing a song with no words. Hum your favorite song. You can still tell it's that song, but there's no words because you're following the rhythm. You know the rhythm is attached to those words. This is the same with rap songs, pop songs, country songs. Every song has a rhythm. Did you know that the ABC song, the alphabet song, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and the Itsy Bitsy Spider all have the same rhythm? If you hum each of those songs, they're all going to have the same tune or rhythm. Part 2, the meanings of words. A word can be carefully selected to convey a precise idea, but some words can carry several layers or depths of meaning at the same time. Poets can use these or combine them with other words for particular effects. Some techniques that can enhance the meaning of words are as follows. A simile. Y'all should know all about similes. This creates a comparison between two things by using words like or as. For example, the desert was as dry as a bone. Her tempers were like in an uncontrollable storm. He's as cool as a cucumber. Rain plastered the land until it was shining like hammered lead. I want you to try to make a simile for this image right here. All right, you could do something like, oop, the sky was as blue as, and name some, as a blueberry. Or the water was as wet as a pool. Or the water was as salty as a salt shaker. You're using like or as. A metaphor is the opposite. It creates a comparison by stating that one thing is another or does the actions of another. So this one isn't comparing using like or as, it's comparing the actions. The wind was a torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. Her fingers danced across the keyboard. His stomach was a twisted storm of butterflies. You know that the stomach doesn't actually have butterflies in there, but that lets you know that the stomach was acting like a storm of butterflies. Her fingers were dancing across the keyboard. Her fingers aren't actually dancing, but you know her fingers are moving really fast. Personification. This is attributing human characteristics to an inanimate object, animal, or abstract idea. So this is giving something that's not a person-like characteristics. Here's a positive and negative example. The sun happily greeted everyone, "Good morning." Now you know the sun did not tell somebody good morning. The sun did not smile down on somebody. This is letting us know the sun is coming up in the sky. A negative personification is the sky turned dreary as the glum clouds enveloped it. Now you know the sky isn't really sad. That's just letting us know that the sky is turning gray. Here's 3 more examples. As I climbed the stairs, the staircase groaned as if awoken from a long sleep. The days crept by slowly, sorrowfully. Seaweed snatched at his legs as he tried to swim away. Here we gave stairs, days, and seaweed human characteristics. Symbolism. When a simple or ordinary object, event, animal, or person represents a deeper meaning or significance. For example, the dove is a symbol of peace. A red rose stands for love or romance. And if, let's say you have something to drink on your counter and it has a big skull on it, you're not going to drink that because you know a skull represents danger or death or poison or no caution. You know to stay away from it. And here are some examples of symbols as well. They can be compared to logos. Look at the golden arches, the M. You know that that's McDonald's. Does it say McDonald's? No, but it symbolizes McDonald's. See how many you can name from these logos. What do they represent? Word choice and connotation. Connotation are the ideas or feelings evoked by a word. These are the implications or associations we might form which are different to a word's literal meaning. For example, the words animal and beast refer to the same type of creature, but the second term has connotations of wildness and savagery. If I told you that there was a wild animal outside, you'd be like, okay, I'll go check it out. If I told you there was a wild beast outside, you probably wouldn't run out there to go see. The words house and home have the same denotation, but the word home has connotations of warmth, family, safety, and belonging. You don't say your house for the holidays, you are home for the holidays. Part 3. The arrangement of words. The poet decides on how the words are arranged into a certain order or sequence to achieve a particular effect. The structure of the poem can also contribute to its overall meaning. Some words used to identify the structure and arrangement of a poem are as follows. Point of view. Now, I know that we know what point of view is, but we add on to it every year. So you know your second grade words, third grade words, fourth grade words. Now you have a fifth grade word, vantage point. This is the vantage point of the speaker. It means the same thing as point of view. So you have your first person, which means they use I. Second person uses you. Third person limited means the speaker is not part of the story, but uses he, she, or they. And third person omniscient means the speaker is not part of the story, but knows what the characters are thinking. Verses and stanzas. A verse is one single line of a poem arranged in a metrical pattern. A stanza is a group of verses where the lines are arranged into a unit and often repeated in the same pattern throughout the poem. For example, you know a sentence is one line of words, but a paragraph is 5 lines of words, 5 sentences, right? So a verse is like a sentence and a stanza is like a paragraph. But with a paragraph, you have to have 5 sentences in each paragraph. With verses and stanzas, it doesn't really matter how many you have. You can have 20 verses in a stanza. There is no limit. You get to make the particular choices in length and number of verses and stanzas for various purposes. You could put one letter on each line of the poem if you wish. These are just some other poetic forms we're going to be getting in depth later on in the next week. Blank verse, rhymed poetry, free verse, ballads, sonnets, and limericks. Part 4, this is our last part. This is the imagery of words. Although poems explore deep human emotions or thoughts, an audience won't generally respond very strongly unless the poem creates imagery. These are vivid mental pictures or sensations created through descriptive words. The poet must include these details that calls upon the 5 senses in order to show the reader rather than to merely tell them about the subject. The 6 main types of imagery are as follows. So we're talking about our senses to show instead of just tell. The first is visual imagery. This calls upon our sense of sight. The shimmering sun bounced waves of light off the surface of the ocean. Here you can close your eyes and visualize that sentence. Auroral imagery is imagery that calls upon our sense of sound. She could hear the gentle whisper of the breeze and the chirping of the birds. You can close your eyes and imagine what that sounds like. The breeze, the little chirps of the birds in a forest, that touches our sense of sound. Olfactory imagery, this is imagery that calls upon our sense of smell. The sticky, sweet scent of donuts wafted in the air. Imagine you walk into a Krispy Kreme or a Dunkin' Donuts. What does that smell like? You know that smell and you can call upon that memory. Tactile imagery is imagery that calls upon our sense of touch, the softness of a kitten's fur. You can imagine what a kitten's fur can feel like using your sense of touch. Gustatory imagery calls upon our sense of taste. The syrup drizzled on top of the fluffy pancakes. You can imagine what this tastes like. You can call back on the memory of your taste buds to imagine what taking a bite out of the fluffy pancakes and the syrup. Our last one is kinesthetic imagery. This is imagery that calls upon our sense of movement. Hurling towards earth, the girl felt nothing but the wind push towards her face. So you can imagine what it would feel like hurling towards the earth, looking down, and getting wind pushed up against your face. This is our sense of movement. Now that we've kind of gone over all four parts of poetic techniques, now it's going to be your turn. So Miss Little presents a poetry contest. The last day to turn in your entry will be October 11th. You're going to write me a poem about any topic. It can be silly, serious, short, long, happy, or sad. You're going to submit your poems in the drop box below. This will be in the classroom. Make sure your poem has your name, the title of your poem, and of course, your poem. You may illustrate your poem if you wish. Make sure all this is on one piece of paper in your neatest handwriting. Prizes will be given to first, second, and third place in the 5th grade. Now, you may enter as many times as you wish. If you have 20 poems that you want to enter, go ahead. If you only have one, that's fine too. But I want at least one entry from every single person in the 5th grade to show me your best poem. And again, this can be written about anything you want to. We'll be going more in depth about the different kinds of poetry, so you can enter in as many types as you want. You're going to be focusing on free verse right now, which is just making sure that they rhyme. All right, so hopefully this was a good introduction to our poetry unit. Stay safe, do your best, and have a great rest of your week and weekend.